If you're saying yes to something, you're saying no to something else. And what I've learned is when I'm not honoring my values, I look back and I'm like, why did I say yes to this? I had no business saying yes to that. And so when I do honor the values, then there's no FOMO, there's no fear of missing out because it wasn't for me and it didn't align.
Welcome to She Coaches Coaches, the podcast where we have thoughtful, honest conversations about what it really takes to build a thriving coaching business. I'm your host, Candy Motzek, and before building my business, I spent years as a senior corporate leader. Now, today, I work with coaches who are smart, well-trained, and deeply capable, and who want clarity about how to grow in a way that feels aligned and financially sustainable. On this show, I sit down with successful coaches to explore the real decisions behind their success, how they got started, what shifted as they grew, and the mindset and business choices that helped them gain momentum without burning out. Whether you're early in your coaching journey or refining a business you've already built, She Coaches Coaches is here to offer perspective, confidence, and grounded insight to support your next chapter. To learn more about how I work with people, go to my website, stepintosuccessnow.com. And now let's dive in. Hey, everyone, and welcome to this episode of She Coaches Coaches. I am so pleased to be having this conversation with you today. I have a lovely guest. Her name is Kadine Cooper, and I will tell you a little bit about her. But first, let me tell you that she has a skill of perseverance because this is the second time we have recorded this interview. It was a great interview the first time we recorded it, and the tech gods just had other thoughts. So I don't know where this one's going to go, but the last one was great. Let me introduce her to you. So Kadine is a CPCC, and she's a certified award-winning executive coach, master facilitator, talent development consultant, and former HR leader with nearly 20 years experience of driving leadership development, career growth, and organizational effectiveness. She's also certified in mental health first aid, being a trauma-informed, ecologically safe approach to leadership development and team performance. Kadine has partnered with public and private organizations, including global teams and Fortune 500 companies, to design and deliver customized coaching, team development initiatives, and transformational learning experiences. She's been recognized as one of Toronto's top 15 coaches and Canada's top 100 Black women to watch. Kadine has been featured on CP24, The Globe and Mail, and named a LinkedIn top career expert to follow. Welcome to the show. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you so much for having me again. And thank you for your patience with all the technology. It almost happened again today, but like you said, we're going to persevere through.
We're good. We got this, right? So let's start with this question. What are you really excited about right now in your work?
Such a great question. I think the thing that I'm most excited about is the pivot that I'm in right now. I've been doing a lot of the last, I guess, 5, 6 years, a lot of B2C coaching and some facilitation, but I'm excited to get back into corporate spaces because I come from corporate. And my intention in going back is to really make a difference and an impact to the women that are in corporate that are in leadership roles. So that's what I'm excited about right now. And it's because of an aligned leadership method that I'm going to be piloting and offering to women in corporate.
Awesome. You are not the first person that I've talked to who's making this transition, been in corporate, done some B2C, and then they're sort of returning like, now I'm ready to go and do leadership within corporate, but in a different way. Talk a little bit about your aligned leadership method, please.
Yeah, so for sure. So it's a 5-step framework. And the first step is the awareness piece. So it's identifying values, any kind of career or life blockers that are stopping women from operating in their brilliance and their space. Because what I find is, for myself anyways, is we mask ourselves when we're in corporate spaces. We don't show up as our full self because we feel like either for Black women, our hair, we're too loud or too assertive. So we kind of mask certain parts of us. So it's really about that awareness and shifting into the identity that is more aligned with a woman's values. And I'll share more about my values later. The L is for liberation. So it's reframing our mindset because it starts with our values, but then also our mindset. We have to shift the mindset of into who we are becoming, who is our ideal or the real version of ourselves. So releasing that perfectionism and owning and stepping into our power. The I is intention. It's setting bold, values driven leadership goals and intention. And then the growth, the G is for growth, which is building that executive presence and confidence and clarity. So helping women to stop leading from a place of frustration and chaos and overwhelm and leaning more into a place where they can actually focus on intention, but they have to have that clarity, that confidence, and that focus. And then the N is the networking piece, right? So strategizing that visibility within your organization. So connecting with the key influencers and decision makers. And it's because I coach mid to C-suite levels. So for the mid levels, it's really working with them to strategize on that visibility piece. And then for the ones that are already at the C-suite level, it's really about them identifying that leadership presence with them, that more of that executive presence and how they're showing up. And that's the method.
I can really feel this shift, the shift in the leaders who want to see things differently. The very first thing that you said about awareness and, so getting us to the point where we can move past the code switching and the
Mm,
mask wearing, I have two feelings about it. The first is I love it. The second is it's scary. It's really easy to continue to show up in that safe, accepted way. What
mhm.
kind of things do you see happening with your clients when they make this shift?
I have a perfect example. I have a client right now. She came to me really because she had lost herself in corporate or the company that she was in. She was there for 20 years, straight out of school, the only job that she's had. But the company is growing at like breakneck speed. And so she was finding that she was losing herself. And so what I helped her to do is to really step back into her true identity, like what was important to her now at this stage in her career and identifying what her values are. And for me, I share them. It's faith, family, fun, freedom, and flexibility. And I call them my 5 Fs. So it's identifying with her, what do you need in order to show up as your best self? Is it the corner office? Is it, the capacity? Because she's the only one operating in HR in this company. I don't know how she's doing it, which is nuts. But really helping her to identify what is conducive to her and meaningful to her and fulfilling to her at this stage in her career and her life, and then building on that. So when she came to me originally, it was like in tears, very frustrated, very overwhelmed. And I was so proud to see her showing up on our call in a different way on Wednesday when we spoke. She was much lighter. She was smiling. She felt like she looked confident. She was a little bit emotional because it was our last call, but I was like, I always tell my clients, Candy, I'm just a call, text, or an email away. You have back pocket access to me, so I'm still accessible. We just won't be meeting on a continual basis anymore. But yeah, she just stands out to mind, probably because it's just so fresh. But just seeing women shift into who it is that they truly desire to become without masking and holding themselves back, if that makes sense.
Yes. And that is going to transform leadership. It's going to
Mhm.
transform organizations because now you're actually going to have that individual showing up in their full power.
Exactly.
Does that give you hope? Like, what kind of hope does this give you for
Oh,
those shifts in the organizations?
so much hope. Honestly, so much hope because for myself, even being in corporate for so many years and feeling like I had to mask, I don't think I really showed up as my best self. There might have been glimpses of me, but then I feel like it was kind of shunned or I had to suppress some of it. So giving women that space and actually not really push back, but giving them the permission to just be and lead from an intention of that place where they actually are being themselves and allowing others. So I'm envisioning, and when you talk about hope, I'm envisioning that ripple effect that it's going to create, allowing others to also become their best self.
I think of the financial impact among others, but just the financial impact, what's possible for an organization. If all of your players are showing up as themselves, you're going to
Hmm.
have so much less burnout. You're going to have so much less friction. You're going to have so much less posturing and, infighting. It's really an amazing thing. It would
It
be
is.
fun to document the benefit.
Well, thank you for that
Right?
idea. You've given me many ideas, I think, already this past couple days since we talked, Candy. Just you're full of ideas.
My brain just
Yeah.
does that. They don't mean anything. They're just ideas.
They mean a lot. Here's what I always say when I'm sharing too is take what resonates and leave the rest. Because sometimes when we're sharing, it may not be for that person right now. But so far, a couple things that you've shared, I've written down notes this week and I have taken some action. So thank you. Because I think it's important that we kind of just share and whatever lands and resonates that people can take the inspired action towards, and they will, and what they won't. That's okay. It's just not for them right now.
Exactly. And it might be in the future, or maybe it sparks another idea. Sometimes that's the best ripple effect. It makes that connection in your brain
Exactly.
with something else. I love this that you're very grounded in values. And you said you have your 5 F's. Could you share those with us again? You said them, but it was pretty quick.
I know.
Also, the importance of living and working with in alignment with your values.
Yeah. So, and I think that's where this whole alignment leadership method came from for me, because I don't feel I was operating from a place of values and alignment when I was in corporate. But now, since stepping out and starting my own practice, and not perfect, I'm still, still kind of coming into them. So the first one is my faith. My faith in God is very important to me. My family. I'm a boy mom. I've got 3 beautiful boys. They're 27, 19, and 15, and an amazing husband. Faith, fun. I love to have fun. Who doesn't? And I think in corporate, I was known as the corporate Kadine. The HR friend, Kadine, those are my friends using. I'm like, where did that come from? But that's how they saw me. And then the freedom, just freedom to just be, like, period, full stop. I think I used to compartmentalize parts of myself, mom Kadine, wife Kadine, sister, cousin, friend. Now I'm just Kadine. What you see is what you get. And then the flexibility to work from anywhere now, the flexibility to show up as my best self. So faith, family, fun, freedom, and flexibility. Those are my 5 S. And what it means for me, and what I'm hoping that the women that I support can actually own in on their own as well, is before I make a decision to say something, to do something, Candy, I'm always like, how is this honoring my values? And if it's not, why not?
Mhm.
Because if you're saying yes to something, you're saying no to something else. And what I've learned is when I'm not honoring my values, I look back and I'm like, why did I say yes to this? I had no business saying yes to that. And so when I do honor the values, then there's no FOMO, there's no fear of missing out because it wasn't for me and it didn't align. So that's what it means for me. It means just like saying, yeah, I'm firm and being confident in my yes and being firm and confident in my no.
I know this is a podcast for coaches, but I'm curious how this shifts how you are as a parent.
Still a work in progress. I think if there's anyone that sometimes occasionally I will let take some of my power away, it's my boys. Definitely have a weak spot for them. But I am teaching them the values as well for them to own and tap into their own values of what's important for them and what do they stand for. Like, especially with my 27-year-old, he's at a stage right now where he has some tough decisions to make. Does he stay in a situationship that he's in, or does he continue to pursue his goals and his careers? And what I've told him is couple things. I have a motto: anything that costs me my peace is too expensive and I can't afford it. And the other is what I had to learn is if where I am right now does not support my career goals and my trajectory, then I'm wasting my time. And so I've said to him, if where you are right now and if what you're doing right now doesn't support your long-term career goals and trajectory, if those things are going to hold you back, then are those the right things? Like, are those things that you value? Right. So that's kind of how I think I'm kind of weaving it into my parenting a little bit. But yeah, it's still a work in progress, as we all are.
Yeah, I can see all that. And I can see the other values. I have lots of values as well. But it just
Yeah,
feels like there is something very central to many of those qualities.
I
Could we
agree.
just switch topics slightly? Could you tell us how did you decide to become a coach?
I knew you were going to ask that question.
How did you know that?
Because yeah, I don't know, just a feeling. How did you decide to become a coach? So I have a very eclectic background. I started my professional career after school. I was fashion merchandiser. I was in retail management. And then I was in market research for like 10 years working in media. And it was due to a bit of downsizing and restructuring. I knew I was going to be out of a job, but we had a year's notice, which I was very grateful for. So I received coaching, career coaching as a result of that. And what always came up for me was people, really loving and interacting with people, serving people. HR came up, social work came up, and I always admired the HR representatives that were at that company that I was with, the way that they engaged with the employees and the things that they did for employees, like the engagement. And I always like volunteered in HR in that space. Whenever they were asking for volunteers, I'd always put my hand up. So during that year that I knew I was going to be out of a job, I kept pursuing and doing research on HR. So I ended up becoming an HR generalist, got sucked into recruitment for like 20 years. Towards the tail end of that, that's when I found that I really enjoyed the coaching, the mentoring of employees, because I was the lead and in some cases the first point of contact for injecting talent into the organization. And so I was very invested in those that I would inject into the organization. So at the end of that time, I knew I wanted to do coaching full time. I didn't know what it meant, what it looked like. I always thought I would do it with another consulting firm. And so I met an amazing coach, and he's the one that really, I would say, encouraged me to just go all in and do it on my own. And I was like, what does that mean? Because I never thought that I would be, a solopreneur. And so it was that kind of push and encouragement, knowing that that's what I wanted and that I could do it on my own. That's kind of what sparked it. And then just the love for people, really, and wanting to help people, especially women, because I didn't have a coach or a mentor when I was coming up in my career. So it's now being able to hold space and to be that person that I wish I had had then. I think that's, yeah, why I really love what I do.
I love that. As you describe that, it really, there's that through line that you couldn't be the coach that you are now if you didn't have all of those experiences that led up
Yes,
to it.
I agree.
If you were thinking of being a coach now and you weren't, what kind of recommendations, what kind of guidance would you give to somebody who was doing that?
Surround yourself with other coaches. Be a sponge. Surround yourself with like-minded and like-hearted individuals. Be curious as much as you can. And I would say just do it and go for it. Go all in. Find the right, I guess, school or institution to get the learning from, where you can learn different techniques and modalities. That's what I would say.
I love that. Thank you.
Mhm.
Can you also, there's a piece here that I see a lot with coaches and with leaders, the identity piece. So we've
Mhm.
touched on values, your values specifically, what values do for an individual. I really see this, the shift of individual contributor or leader within an organization to solopreneurship or an entrepreneurship. And
Mhm.
there's a real identity shift there. Was that a struggle for you? Do you have any sort of
Oh,
thoughts
yeah.
about it or guidance for anybody who might be listening?
Yeah, definitely. I think sometimes I'm still operating a little bit in my kind of corporate mindset where it's that hustle, go, 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 real. And I'm still driven. I'm still that ambitious kind of like, I think I'm a recovering workaholic, but always feeling like I need to be on. Um, is kind of like the mindset that I had when I was in corporate spaces. Now I'm trying to adapt and even just saying to myself, let it be easy. It doesn't have to be that hard. Let it be easy. I don't have to always be striving for something. So I don't know if I answered your question, but that's what I find the real difference or the real challenge has been for me, is adapting a mindset where yes, I have to be marketing, sales, coach and all of those things, but at what cost and what pace. And so it's delegating, it's asking for help. I'm learning more to do that because I'm someone who would sit and be like, I've got it. I can figure this out. And then 2 days go by and I'm like, I still haven't figured it out, when I could have just called a friend or
Right.
did a Google search, or I mean, which I do usually, but or paid someone to do it. And that too, earlier in my kind of entrepreneurship journey, someone said to me, if it takes you more than 30 minutes to figure it out, clearly you're not an expert and you need to call a friend or pay someone to help you do it. So that's what I've learned. I don't have to sit and stew and try to figure it all out. I don't need to know everything because I don't.
This thing with identity has really stuck with me lately. I've been having a lot of conversations with coaches and just remembering, from when I transitioned from being an employee to an entrepreneur, that identity piece can really hold you back.
Hmm.
Because when you're used to defining yourself as I'm a X, you know, I'm a this, I'm a that, this is my degree, this is my credentials, this is the role that I held. And then you become a coach. And like I say that now with like, I honor coaches. I love coaching. I see
Yeah.
the changes it can make. But there's a lot of coaches that in that transition, they're sort of like, they feel a little flaky. right? Like they feel like I used to be a VP and now I'm a coach. There's this a shift. How do you honor that shift within yourself and say this is the next chapter of my career? Yeah, I don't know. Not even a question, just sort of a comment.
It's a
I just
compliment, but I'm
see
happy
it a
to kind
lot.
of add to it
Yeah.
because I think I went through that shift and maybe even still am going through a bit of a shift because again, I was known as the, corporate HR friend or family member to my family members. And now being in this coaching space, I had to do a lot of personal development work on myself and still do, from time to time because I'm still growing and still evolving. But I think for myself with the identity shift, it's not labeling, not heavily labeling or putting a title to the coach because I used to, and I went through, I'm a career transition coach. I'm an identity coach. I'm a confidence coach. I'm a fulfillment coach. What else? I'm a holistic coach because I believe in coaching the whole person. You're not just a box, a triangular square. You're a human being, right? So I think there's all of these, and none of them are right or wrong. They just were until whatever fits or feels right. So I'm proud to say that I'm a coach like you. I'm proud to say that I'm a coach and that I'm associated with so many amazing coaches. And I think that's it feels like this is like the final identity. Do you know what I mean? Like there's no this, it's this or this for me. There's no, well, one day Kadine might be a lawyer or a doctor, or Kadine might go back to corporate, which I'll say I never say never. It would have to be a very good opportunity, but I don't see it in my future at all. But I think the identity shifting is real. And that's also something that I help clients with because it's this becoming, right? And for me, it's that like, Beyonce has her Sasha Fierce. So it's like,
Yes.
who,
Yes.
who are you stepping into? What version or identity are you stepping into that will allow you to be that version? And for me, sometimes it's Olivia Pope from Scandal. I'm like, I bring out my Olivia Pope. I put her on. But yeah, I think everyone, and it's fun, I think, to play with as well, these different identities.
I agree. And that's one of the things that holds a lot of coaches back from building the practice that they want because they still have sort of one foot back in that previous career camp instead of being able to transition into not just who am I becoming, but who do I choose to be
I
right
choose
now?
to be,
When
because
you
it's a
say,
choice.
that's it, I'm in the coaching camp now,
Yes,
you don't have that same drain on your energy and that same sort of tension in how you define yourself. You just become more of yourself. And this sort of circles back around to the start of the conversation where you said, yeah, and I used to be, mom Kadine and HR Kadine and all of these, right? Now I'm just this individual. So I think that there's similarity there for the leaders, but then also just seeing that there's a similarity there for the coaches who are listening to this too.
I agree. Just be you. Because one thing I'll say as well, for any kind of new coach or even existing coach that might be struggling with that identity, I remember listening to a panel and I used to say, oh, Kadeen, sometimes I can be a lot because I can, I like to overshare, not really overshare, but like I like to give resources and tools, right? And
Mhm.
lift others up. So she said, you'll either be too much for some, not enough for others, but as long as your intention is good and you're enough for you, that's all that matters. And so I think because I think maybe people please or try to please others, but now I'm like, you know what, my intention in my heart is always never to hurt or to harm. So as long as it's coming from a good place, then I'll be okay with that. And I know I'm not for everybody, and I'm also okay with that now as well too. Because our
We
people are
have,
out there.
I would love it just to ask you one final question before we wrap up. What
Sure.
is the idea that you hope the listeners will carry away with them after this conversation? What's the one idea?
The one idea I would say is if you've chosen this as a profession, there's a reason, there's a need, and not to dim your light, but just to step fully and boldly into this being. Because the one thing that my very first coach said to me, he goes, if you go all in on this, anyways, I don't know how you feel, Candy, but it's something that you definitely have to be all in on. Because there was a point where I was like, I'm going to do this coaching thing on the side, part time, and I'm going to go back to corporate. And he was like, no, no, no. He's like, not for you. Maybe for others, but he said, not for you. This is something that you have to go all in on. And I was like, okay. And I accepted it. I accepted
Mm.
it. To me, it's an honor. Anyone that chooses me as their coach, I always say, it's such an honor. And that's what I said to my client on Wednesday. I said, thank you for choosing me and for allowing me to journey with you because it's truly a pleasure. I don't take it lightly. I really don't.
Can you share with the listeners how they can find out more about you? And I believe you've also got a free gift that you can offer to them as well.
I do. So you can find me on LinkedIn as Kadine Cooper. I'm on Instagram as career coach underscore K, and you can find me on my website, kadinecooper.ca. And my gift is, I have a couple actually, if that's okay.
Sure.
So for anyone who is interested, I am running a roundtable talk sometime in April. So I'm looking for participants to complete that survey. And then there will be a gift at the end of that survey, a white paper that Candy so graciously gave me the idea to put
Oh,
together.
good.
And the other freebie that I have is I have an ebook, and it's my Mojo Journal to Self-Discovery. And it's in beta stage. It will hopefully be officially published by the end of 2026. But I'd love to offer that and share that with anyone who is kind of just maybe feeling a little bit off lately, but could use something to kind of pick themselves up. So it's like a reflection journal.
Excellent. I love that. Thank you so much for joining us. And as we wrap up, I want to remind the listeners that you just listened to this conversation, but don't just consume the information, think, well, that was interesting, and go on about your day. Before the episode is done, think, what's the one thing that really spoke to my head or my heart or my soul that I want to take away and I want to do something with it? Maybe it's a reframe, maybe it's a perspective shift, maybe it's an actual action that you want to take, but make use of this conversation to make your life and your business so much better. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll be back and we'll speak to you again on the next episode. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of She Coaches Coaches. If this conversation resonated, take a moment to reflect on what stood out and how it connects to where you are right now. Coaching businesses grow through clarity and thoughtful choices, not pressure or hustle. If you'd like more support, you can learn more at stepintosuccessnow.com. I'll put the link in the episode notes. And if you found this episode helpful, I'd appreciate it if you would share it with a peer or colleague who would enjoy it as well. I appreciate you being here. Have a great day.